Continuing on, looking at members of Congress, we're going to look at members of Congress actually at work doing their jobs. I know a lot of times we think about congressmen not actually working, not actually doing their job, and they'll catch a lot of flack for that. But if there are plenty of them that actually do their job right, it's usually those kind of bad ones. Sometimes overshadow the good that's done in Congress. However, there's plenty of congressmen that get reelected every 2 years, every 6 years, and obviously they're doing something right if that's happening. To work as a member of Congress, it's a very demanding job. You're working very long hours and lots of travel. So, if you think about, say you're a congressman, you're a representative, and you're from, Ewing, Missouri, you're going to spend, about half your time, here around this area, and you're not just representing Ewing, Missouri. You're representing a long stretch of area in northern Missouri. So you're going all around there, and then you're spending about half your time in Washington, D.C., working at your office there, working on the floor of the House. So, there's a lot of travel that is involved in that. And you have to know about so much stuff. This is one of those things where you don't have to be an expert on everything, but you have to kind of know a little about everything. So just the examples I have here: military, trade, pollution. All these things are just the economy in general. These are things that you have to really know. But like I said, you don't have to necessarily be an expert on these, because what you can do is you might have, say you're a farmer and you're going to go and you end up serving in the House of Representatives. You're going to know about farming. You might not know a lot about, say, the military. But there's other members of Congress that you can kind of rely on that are going to give you kind of a crash course on what these bills about the military might be about. And then in turn, you could do the same thing when it comes to farming and agriculture and that sort of thing. The floor of Congress, okay, this is what you see if you ever watch C-SPAN, which I'm sure most of you don't. This is a chance for members of Congress to really learn about issues, debate issues. This is kind of like the part that's for show, okay? So much of the work is actually done behind the scenes, okay? But this is the part that is public domain. It's open for the public to see, and this is just where everything's going to officially happen in the House or the Senate. I do want to talk about one other thing: debating issues right here. This is something that's really important. In order to have anything work, there has to be some debate. We look at Congress as always arguing, and they do, but really it's a lot more about debate, where in order for a bill to really be successful, you have to look at it from both sides, and that's why it does help to have the Democrats and the Republicans, because if it's going to go along party line votes, you really want to see what are the negatives to your bill. And the other political party, they're definitely going to point out those negatives. So it really helps for this debate to happen, and then you're able to get usually a better bill created with that debate, and so you can see both sides. Members of Congress are going to be meeting with their constituents. Remember, constituents are the people that they represent. They're going to meet with lobbyists. We talked about lobbyists. They're the ones that are really pushing in interest groups ideas. And then they're going to meet with other lawmakers. This is just something that's going to happen so that, like I said, you kind of get that back and forth with people that might be experts in one area, and they can exchange ideas with people that are experts in another area. Okay. Congressional staff. Obviously, members of Congress cannot do all of this work by themselves. This is why they have a congressional staff. There are around 12,000 support staff members, and that's for all of the members of Congress combined. So that's 535 members of Congress, between 100 in the Senate and 435 in the House of Representatives. So that comes out to be roughly 22 support staff members per member of Congress. It doesn't really work out that way. It's not 22 for everybody. Some are going to actually have a little bit more, some a little bit less. And they can also, it could vary on, how many they want to employ there. It just kind of, just going over this, this is going to be, they're going to be constitutional experts. It's going to be people that are going to help them, work on a bill, to the people that are going to get them coffee. These are all going to be, important people to each one of these members of Congress. Okay, the home office, that's going to be the local link to Washington, D.C. Each representative is going to have both an office in Washington as well as one or possibly multiple in their home area. And this just simply makes sure that there's that link to Washington, D.C. at that local level. Neighborhood meetings, town hall meetings, these are things that members of Congress are going to do in order to, meet with their constituents, so they don't have to meet with all of them individually. When you think about it, if you have a question for your representative, there's a good chance that someone else is going to have that exact same question. So at a town hall meeting, people can ask questions, and this way we can do it all in one day. And questions are going to get asked, and if just like in the classroom, if that answers your question, you're not going to ask that same question. So it really saves time, and it's really kind of a popular thing. But it also can also be a little bit more for publicity as well. You get news cameras there, and really show that you're working, and then obviously that's going to help potentially get you reelected. Okay, legislative assistants. These are the people that are going to study bills, and then they're going to report back to the congressman. So like I said, these people are going to be experts on the Constitution, and tell members of Congress, hey, this is what this bill would do. And they're going to be experts in various things as well. But they're going to be able to report back to the congressman, hey, so we looked at this, and voting yes on this bill is going to mean X, Y, and Z. So they're going to be a very important part of that congressional staff. All right, so when it comes to representing the people, we've got a few different ways that this is going to happen. For representatives in the House of Representatives, each one of them is going to represent a certain amount of people, and that's going to be based on the census. The census, it's a population count. It's taken every 10 years, and this is going to tell us how many people are in these individual areas. There's 435 members of the House of Representatives. Okay, and each state gets a proportional amount of representatives. Okay, California has 53 representatives because they have so many people. Wyoming, on the other hand, has one representative because they have very few people. Alaska is the same way. I believe Montana is the same way. So each congressional district is going to be made up of roughly 575,000 people. Now, that's not going to be an exact number. There's going to be some that are over 600,000. And, if a state has fewer than 575,000 people, obviously, you're going to have one representative for the entire state. But this is just going to make sure that we do have a proportional amount of representatives in the House of Representatives. What will happen is if a state loses population, okay, they're going to possibly lose a member of the House, and that means that another state is going to gain a member of the House. So that 435 number doesn't change unless we were to add states, but that number is not going to change. It's just going to be divided up differently based on population. All right, so a congressional district is just the area that the member of the House of Representatives represents. And I've got Illinois on here kind of for a reason. Gerrymandering is another term here drawing districts to benefit one political party. Gerrymandering has been declared illegal. However, states still do it. If you have Democrats that are going to be in control, like in Illinois, they're going to draw these political party lines in a way that they're going to try to get as many Republicans into one area as possible, so that they can then have other areas that are going to be broken up into smaller areas that are going to benefit the Democrats. And again, it's illegal. However, it happens. There you see the congressional districts for Illinois compared to that of Iowa, which I think everybody can see that this pretty much is a better representation of the state. You don't have all these squiggly lines that are all over the place. Like you see here, it's pretty much just broken up by the counties, and each one has their representative. Missouri, I don't have a picture of that, but Missouri is actually somewhere in the middle between what this looks like and what this looks like. Missouri isn't as bad as to have these districts that are barely held together. They can't be split up. Okay, so they are connected, but usually in these areas they're connected by like a road. Okay, it's not quite like this, but it is probably a little bit more like the Iowa districts than what Illinois is. All right, the last slide that we'll have today, we're going to look at the term of office. So for the House of Representatives, you have a 2-year term. Okay, every 2 years, the entire House of Representatives is up for re-election. Okay, the term ends on January 3rd every other year. So this means so Sam Graves, okay, he is our representative. He was just re-elected. He will be sworn in on January 3rd. Okay, January 3rd of 2021. Okay, and then that term will be up January 3rd, 2023. Okay, now he can either be reelected and he will be sworn in again, or he's defeated and then somebody else takes over. But the term ends January 3rd every other year. Okay, so you have two options. You're either going to run for reelection or you're going to retire. There's no term limit for the House of Representatives, for the U.S. House of Representatives. You're basically always in the public eye because you're always going to be up for reelection. Kind of what a lot of representatives have said, and it's kind of like the rule of thumb, you're going to spend about 1/4 of your time working for your constituents. Now, you would like to say that you're spending all of your time working for your constituents, but that's just, there's not enough hours in the day. It's just not possible. So you spend about a quarter of the time working for your constituents, writing letters, visiting with people, doing casework, kind of study bills. You're always trying to get reelected, so you're always trying to do as much as you can to spend with your constituents. The other time is going to be spent working with your other colleagues, working in the House of Representatives. Then there's travel and all this other stuff. So if you could spend about a quarter of your time working for your constituents, and doing stuff that's directly impacting them, it's believed that you're going to be in pretty good shape when it comes to reelection. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll get into the senators and some of the requirements of office, as well as different benefits and things like that. We will actually get into that. I believe it'll be on Thursday. So we'll be checking back then. In the meantime, tomorrow you're going to have an assignment. So look for that in Google Classroom. Other than that, have a great day, and we'll be seeing you.